Hi everyone, welcome. I'm glad you're all here. In this lesson we have a new topic, stem changing verbs in the present tense. Before we look at that, we are going to review quickly regular verbs in the present tense, and then we'll compare that with stem changing verbs so you can see why we call them stem changing verbs. And then towards the end, I'm going to show you how you can begin thinking a little bit in German without having to go through English if you're a native English speaker, or without having to go through another language. So let's get started. So this lesson is specific to stem changing verbs that change from A to A with the umlaut. But first, we're talking about the present tense, das Präsens, and we are going to review a regular verb, the verb to go, gehen, very important verb. We've had this lesson already. So remember, the important thing that you need to learn about conjugating verbs is to find the root or the stem. To find that, you remove the N or the EN from the infinitive. So we have an EN here, so we're going to remove that, and we have the root, or this is the stem. Now this is a regular verb, so it's not a stem changing verb. Remember, to conjugate the verb, all you have to do is add these endings. These are the endings that go with each of the subject pronouns you see here. And this is a must to memorize. You have to memorize this. If you can memorize the information right here, you can do a lot. You will begin to be able to start communicating in German, speaking in German, expressing your ideas in German with at least regular verbs. So memorize these endings here that go with these subject pronouns. So let's take a look at the verb gehen quickly. I go, here's my root. I just add the ending that I've memorized, the ending that goes with ich, and I have ich gehe, I go. You go, du, there's the stem, there's the root, add the ending, du gehst, you go. He goes, I have my root, add the ending, geht, geht. She goes, sie geht. You go, sie, this is the formal you, gehen, sie gehen. Now for the plural subject pronouns, we go, wir gehen, we go. You go, now this is the informal you, plural, you're addressing more than one person. Ihr geht, you go. You go, this is the formal you, addressing more than one person. Sie gehen. And finally, they go. Sie, notice that it's lowercase s here, so they, and then the ending is gehen, en, sie gehen. So here we have a regular verb conjugated in the present tense. That's the verb gehen. Okay, so remember, this is important. Find the stem, remove the n or en, and there you have it. So now let's talk about stem changing verbs. Here's the exciting part. You get to work with these stem changing verbs that are very common in the language. You'll use them all the time, but they're also very important. The pattern here is A to A with the umlaut. And this pattern is important because it's going to affect the pronunciation. This would be an A, and then this would be an E. So I'll show you some examples in context in just a minute. Okay, so we have the verb, the infinitive. Remember, the infinitive is the basic form of the verb. It hasn't been conjugated, which means it doesn't have a subject yet, and it doesn't have a tense or a time. We don't have past, present, or future yet. It's just the idea. So schlafen, to sleep. Okay, so if I want to find the root, I remove the en, and I have my root here, or my stem. I'm using root and stem interchangeably. So here's the stem, schlaf. And all you have to do is add those same endings that you've learned before to the root. But here's the kicker. This is a stem changer. So for some of the forms, you're going to use schlaf. And for other forms, you're going to use schläf. So schlaf, schläf, schlaf, schläf. Notice the difference in pronunciation. So how do you know which forms take the schlaf and which ones take the schläf? Well, that's just a matter of practice. You memorize through practice. And I will show you which forms in just a second. Okay, so I sleep. This one uses the schlaf. Ich schlaf. So you add your ending for I, which are the same endings for regular verbs that you've seen already. So I for ich schlafe, I sleep. And remember, this can also mean I do sleep or I am sleeping. It just depends on the context. Ich schlafe, ich schlafe. You sleep, this is the informal you, informal singular you. Now this one has the stem change. Du schläfst, and then you add your ending. Du schläfst, du schläfst, du schläfst. So I sleep, ich schlafe, du schläfst. Notice the difference in pronunciation. That's very important. He sleeps. This one is also going to have the stem change. And my ending is T, so schläft. Schläft. She sleeps. Sie, also with the stem change. And the T ending, sie schläft. And you sleep, the formal you, formal singular you, sie. Notice there's no stem change here. Schlafen. Sie schlafen. Okay, so there you have it. The the sie, and the du forms have the stem change. All of the other forms in the verb do not. So it's just du and sie, and of course s if you use s. Those have the stem change. There it is. The plural forms do not have a stem change. So let's look at the plural forms. We sleep. So we have schlaf. Wir schlafen. We sleep. You sleep. Remember, this is the informal you. You're addressing more than one person. You. Ihr schlaft. Ihr schlaft. You sleep. This is the formal you. Formal plural you. Sie schlafen. And finally, they sleep. Notice the lowercase s. Sie schlafen. They sleep. And that's it. That's the stem changing verb schlafen. The A to A umlaut pattern. The only thing that's left to do is practice a little bit. So this is the part where, you can begin to start thinking in German. German teachers, language teachers in general, tell you don't translate, begin to think in the language. So the question is, how do you begin to do that? Well, if you know how to conjugate the verb, you can begin doing that. If you understand schlafen means to sleep, and you know how to conjugate it, then you just need that extra information. So here's a little piece of it. One phrase that we can use with schlafen is 8 Stunden jede Nacht. 8 Stunden jede Nacht. 8 hours every night. So with this little piece of information and a few conjugated forms, we can put this together to begin thinking in German. So I know ich schlafe as I sleep, and then 8 hours every night. Forget about the English. Then you can say ich schlafe 8 Stunden jede Nacht. Ich schlafe 8 Stunden jede Nacht. Du schläfst 8 Stunden jede Nacht. Du schläfst 8 Stunden jede Nacht. Du schläfst 8 Stunden jede Nacht. Er schläft 8 Stunden jede Nacht. Er schläft 8 Stunden jede Nacht. Wie viele Stunden schläfst du? Schläfst du? Remember the question? Verb form first, then subject pronoun. Wie viele Stunden? So I'm trying not to think in English, but I need to tell you this part in English. If you want to ask someone, how many hours do you sleep every night? Wie viele Stunden schläfst du? Informal you. Wie viele Stunden schläfst du jede Nacht? Every night. This is the answer. Wie viele Stunden schläfst du jede Nacht? Ich schlafe 8 Stunden jede Nacht. Ich schlafe 8 Stunden jede Nacht. Wie viele Stunden schläft er jede Nacht? Wie viele Stunden schläft er jede Nacht? Er schläft 8 Stunden jede Nacht. Er schläft 8 Stunden jede Nacht. So as much as possible, when you know how to conjugate a verb and you have that other information that you need to put sentences together, you can begin thinking in German. Forget about the English or whatever other language you speak and practice. And that's it. So that's it for this lesson. Thanks so much for watching. If you found it helpful, I would appreciate it very much if you'd give it a like. To continue learning German and go on to another lesson, click on the video that appears here on your screen. See you soon. Bis bald.